Hello! Right, I know a lot of you are very keen to see more progress on the Mercedes. Meantime, this Rover V8 has been sitting here looking expensive and neglected under the bench for a very long time. So I'm going to carry on with building this, and the next thing that needs to be doing to it is putting in the push rods, because it's a highly advanced engine with push rods, and fitting the rockers back in, and then it'll be virtually ready to run. Now, because I've stripped two engines, there's the old 3.5 litre looking very sorry for itself and grubby under here. This is the 4.6 that's going back in the car. I've got two sets of, whoa, let's not drop these on the floor. Two sets of push rods. These are the old 3.5 litre ones. Now, I did keep them all in the right order, but because the entire engine has been rebuilt and machined, it's kind of not relevant anymore. They are the same length, but the old 3.5 litre ones have got this much bigger, rounder head, and the 4.6 seems to have this smaller, narrower kind of gauge to it. I don't know if that's an advantage or not. This is what you call an optical illusion. These ones have got a crisper ridge on the back of their little nubbin on the top, and these are more of a round, fat drumstick thing. Now, I think the round, fat drumsticks, in fact, I'm certain the round, fat drumsticks are off the 3.5 litre, because I left them on top of that motor. So they can go back up there, and if ever I rebuild that engine, I'll put them back in here. I will go with these more newer looking ones, which may have done more mileage and may not. I don't really know the mileage on these things, because that's a 1973 engine, assuming it's the original engine, and this is a mid-90s engine, so there's about 20 years between them. But before I fit them, they need cleaning, because they are manky as anything. I don't know if the camera will focus on this or not, but that is super disgusting, and I don't want super disgusting going back into my super lovely shiny engine. Now, normally I'd probably go and use some brake cleaner or something similar for this, but I seem to have run out of that, so some intake and carburetor cleaner might have to do the trick. Now, judging by the state of these things, this engine was not the best cared for thing by its last owner. There seems to be a bit etched in, the grime in there. Well, these have cleaned up relatively well and good enough that they're not going to dump loads of crud into the new engine oil. But, you know, they're still not beautiful, but they're free. I'm not spending any more money on this engine, so I absolutely have to. It's cost enough as it is. Oops. I could bolt these things straight back in as they are, but everything else looks so nice and clean, I don't want to put them in this horrible manky state. Now, the only thing I could find that was big enough or shaped in any way to catch the stuff as I pour it is this thing. But so, let's do this. Okay, now I wish I'd gone with a bigger bowl of some kind. This isn't really working. Yeah, this idea sucks. In my mind, the milk carton was bigger than this. Well, that's now done. I'm not going to call these shiny or even massively clean, to be perfectly honest, but they're a lot nicer than they were, and they're as good as I'm going to achieve with a bit of gunk and a paintbrush. So now I can finally fit something I bought about a year ago when everything else was being machined. These are my brand new tappets. Oh, look at these. ERC 4949 tappets by All Makes. These were made on the 7th of July 2016 in the United States, no less. So these are American made tappets. So these, I'll do a quick cutaway in a second, slide into these little holes in here, or they should do, they don't, they go a bit tight. Yeah, so I will goop these up. So I wrap this around here, and dollop on the end. I'm going to be very generous with this. If I run out halfway through, I will order some more and carry on after I've bought some more, because I'd rather use a gallon of this. And the old ones of these are pretty worn and tired. I can't even, now I've got oil assembly lube on my fingers. I can't get the tappets out of the box. Battery's just gone in that light. Dagnammit. Knew I should have changed it at the same time as the other one. Because tonight my wife went out, took my son to Scouts. Oh, son I suppose technically. And said do the washing up. and I started watching something on YouTube, which I, obviously do a fair amount of, same as probably you guys as well. And as I was sitting there thinking, why am I watching YouTube and about to wash up when I've got an engine sitting here in the garage waiting to be built, and I'm desperately keen to get it out and driven? So I thought, forget the washing up, I'll do that later. There's always going to be washing up. Yeah, there's always going to be washing up. There isn't always going to be a beautiful 4.6 litre V8 waiting for me in the garage. One down. And now the push rods. This really is the easy bit. Now I just need to fit the rocker arms, which are handed. If you look on the bottom of it, it's got a cup on one side and a flat on the other, and the cup goes over the rocker arm. No, it doesn't. The cup goes over these little push rods, and the flat goes over this bit here on the top of the springs. This is the way it goes around. Apparently there is a mark on it, but I'll be weird if I can work out where the mark is. The reference is in the book, but needless to say, you can work out pretty easily which way it does go around because it's different underneath. So I was going to grab a swig of tea and get it fitted. There goes the microphone, but I can't touch it right now because I'm covered in oil. So just line up all of these little cups. Are these all good? Yes, they are all good. After my old bottle of raspberry sauce ran out, I had to pack everything up because I couldn't install anything else without lots more raspberry syrup on there. Had to wait for US Automotive to post me a new bottle of its engine assembly lube. While I was looking at everything, I was thinking, these rockers just have a real vintage kind of vibe about them. And I realised that the 4.6 litre rocker covers were in here. And what should be nestling inside the 4.6 litre rocker covers but the 4.6 litre rockers. So I spent an hour yesterday cleaning rockers I'm not going to use. Now, although those look fine, they are 20 something years older than these ones, so they might be a bit better. Who knows? I don't know. Interestingly, the 1990s ones don't have this splash guard. I don't know if that's built into the design of the 90s rocker cover now. So yeah, which means I'm now going to have to go and clean these ones as well. While I was down here scrubbing more oil off bits of old metal, I actually remembered or discovered, was reminded, that's the phrase I'm looking for, the reason why I'm elbows deep or credit card deep into a V8 engine rebuild. This stud here, this one is sheared off. It should be like that long, but it's not. It's sheared off, and that's when I met the guys at Motortech Engineering who had to come out and drill out the broken stud, and that's when we found we had other broken studs, and that's when the heads got machined, and that's when the crank got done, and that's when everything else got done. That's why it's basically a brand new 4.6, all because of this one broken stud, and it just snowballed from there. This was meant to be a one weekend £300 engine replacement and upgrade for that old 3.5 litre. So yeah, if it wasn't for this one broken, £1 50p broken stud, this car would still be on the road. Funny how things turn out. Something else I'm just noticing for the first time is that this rocker on this particular rocker shaft is brand new. The rest are all original. I think I saw what looks like a date stamp at the end of this one, which looks like it says 1996. Oops. So yeah, it's interesting that this engine had been apart and it had been wrenched back together so tightly that between two of it took two of us to undo some of the bolts, with one of us holding the engine down and the other one putting a lot of force on a big breaker bar. And that was someone who's like an expert in Rover V8s, not just me and some random person who doesn't know nothing about them. So yeah, I guess this was in an off-roader. It was pulled apart to change this and do something else, and it's wrenched back together so tight. Refit the rocker shaft assemblies. Note they are handed and must be fitted the correct way around to align the oil ways. On the right hand cylinder head, The notch in the end of the shaft faces upwards and towards the front of the engine, and on the left it faces upwards towards the rear. Now I've spent quite a long time looking for these notches, and I've not got any idea where on earth that might be. I have studied them in great detail and can find no sign of anything. Fortunately, when I took the rocker covers off, I put the rockers into the covers that it came with, so I know which one's which. So I'm going to douse these with my fresh new raspberry ice cream sauce. Yummy. So US Automotive aren't sponsoring me, but they are extremely helpful and keep this stuff in stock, which not many people seem to do. So it's quite handy to know where you can buy some late on a Friday evening. So I'll load up all of these little caps. Whoop. It's possible this is overkill, but I'd rather do overkill and have an engine that's very oily than underkill and have an engine that's dead. Now one day, if I'm getting this engine running and getting more and more power out of it, I will probably upgrade these. There are lots of different versions of things you can do to Rover V8 because it's basically a Buick. I've lost a nut. I'll borrow one from the 3.5 litre. That was the one that was broken. How come you can get step down things so you can use smaller sockets on a bigger sized driver, but you can't get step up so you can use a bigger driven socket on a smaller driven driver? I didn't realise when I bought this ratchet wrench, this torque wrench, that it was such a small driver. Damn, never even thought about it. Anyway, the book doesn't specify any particular order, it just says do it evenly. And this useful printout, whoops, Rover Classics printout that the guys at Motortech gave me, says 30 foot-pound of torque. So let's crank it down to 30 foot-pound of torque. Cool, one down. Do a bit more smothering of the old assembly lube. This really is starting to look like an engine. It makes me really feel like it won't be long before I can actually have this thing running in the car. Before the Mercedes is running, I would more than likely imagine. So here it is. It's basically a brand new finished engine. The block has been sort of chemically stripped, the cylinders have been honed, the pistons have got brand new rings and everything obviously. The crank has been machined so it's perfectly smooth. It's got a brand new Crower Fast Road cam in it. It's got new tappets, it's got the 4.6 litre rocker shafts in it. It's got new timing gear on it, so basically it's all good to go. What I need to do now, it says in the book, is to rotate the engine to make sure there is no conflict of interest basically between the space where two valves and perhaps a piston might want to be sharing the same place at the same time. In order to do that though, I need to bung a, what do you call it? A crank pulley on. That's the word I'm looking for. Struggling hopelessly. But I don't really want to do that because I like this to be painted and pretty before I do that. So I might just hold off doing that and give this a quick blow over with some black paint before I give this engine a quick turn, because that would be a shame to have to put it on and take it off again. Right, so I gave this a quick squirt of high temperature paint after a quick douse off with anti-rust and degreaser, so it was nice and, well, it's not nice, it's better. I won't go as far as nice. So this is the crank pulley off the old 3.5 litre, and you can see it's got two different, what do you call it, grooves if you like. One for the alternator, one for the power steering. Nice, simple, but very heavy indeed. Wow, that's a couple of kilos of steel just there. This here, in the scratch pile, is the serpentine belt pulley from the 4.6. You see it's a far smaller, it actually weighs even more. It's actually a heavier item even though it's smaller. It's a far more complicated thing as well. It's got like a rubber damping ring in it, so it's maybe smoother to run. I'm not going to use this. It was actually damaged. The tricky part here is actually lining it up in the right place. So let's rather hope that groove is lined up. Oh dear. Wooden mallet time. That's not good. There we go. That turns easier than I thought it would. There we go, over the wood off kick. Wait a minute, gosh darn minute. How did this come off before? Ah! Must have put that up back on so I didn't lose it. Well, I hope that's in the right position for the water pump, because that looks really close. Got rubber gloves and tiny washers really don't mix. Yeah, it's an O-ring. That's a rubber O-ring, not a washer. Now, I was thinking last night, I actually don't remember what happened to the water pump. I was going to say water pumps, yes, sorry, got sidetracked by this, water pumps. But I was looking at the cost of water pumps on the internet, and apparently if this was the original 4.6 timing cover I put back on, I could pick a water pump up in its little housing for about 50 quid or so. Because this is the SD1 front plate, they're £150. Right, this is a big ass bolt that comes with this 4.6 crankshaft. Nips into there, and once that's on there I can try and turn the engine for the first time with the rockers on and see if that is all going to work. Fingers very firmly crossed. Let's find a socket. So, are you ready for this? Let's see what happens when I turn this crank wheel over. Oh, it's moving. I can see the crankshaft turning. I can see the lifters going round. I can hear the pistons. What's that noise? Might be the crankshaft hitting the bits of wood underneath the floor because the oil sump's not on yet. Yes, this is moving. That's the crank touching the wooden shelf again. Oh, this is marvellous. Now that is amazing! Look at that, that worked. There's no interference. As I turned it and the assembly lube got into all the crevices, it was starting to just move more and more smoothly and turn more easily. So wow, that is just phenomenal. I'm so happy to have built an engine that looks like it's probably going to work. So well, this car will be on the road potentially, even though it's got no engine in it, before the Mercedes at this rate. So now I need to make two choices. Well, first of all, I'm going to put in the valley gasket and then an inlet manifold, and on top of that there's going to be either the carburetors from 3.5 litre or the fuel injection from the 4.6. Now, if I went with the 4.6 injection, it would look kind of awesome. It would be easy to tune, it would stay in tune, it'd probably give a bit more power, but I'd have to go and spend £1,000 on a control box, and I've never done electronic fuel injection before, and you've seen how much fun I've been having with the mechanical fuel injection on the Mercedes out there. If I go with the 3.5 litre inlet manifold, that is probably what I think I will do, because it's here, it's in the garage, it was in the lockup actually where the Rover 2000 is, but I can just stab it straight on there and the car will run instantly. And once I've got the car actually running, then I can go and upgrade it at a later date to like a nice Offenhausen manifold, Edelbrock, am I doing something around? Yeah, Edelbrock carburetors, Offenhausen manifold, like a proper nice, big, high flow carburetor setup, which would be really nice. Or a different fuel injection setup. I think just for speed, getting the thing running, going to go the old 3.5 litre twin SUs. They're simple and reliable. It'll get the car rolling at the very least. Secondly, these are the rocker covers. Oh, if I can get one of these. This, let's not drip tons of crud into the nice new engine, is the rocker cover from the 4.6, which is quite angular. It's got this nice kind of liney stuff at the top, but it looks quite modern. I'm going to go and see the rocker covers off the 3.5 litre over in the other garage as well. Basically, the other garage has become a storage dump. My only concern at this point is that I didn't refit the splash guard things that came out of the... hang on, where it is. There we go. This is the rocker out of a 3.5 litre, which has got a splash guard built into it. So as the oil comes up and into the rockers, it churns through this little guard back into the engine, returning it quite quickly. The old 3.5 litre rocker covers don't have anything in them, but the 4.6 ones do have this kind of baffle full length, so I think if I go with the 3.5 litre rocker covers, I'm going to have to go and undo these and put those rocker splash guard things. There's too many words here. I can't do this talking, it's too early in the morning. He says 11 AM. No, don't need to mention this in the comments. I know I've not talked that up, but there's no way of stopping the engine turning at the moment. Oh, I'm excited now. I'm very excited about this. Alright, let's go find some stuff out there in the garage. So this video has rambled on a little bit too long, so next time I'm going to be cleaning up and fitting the rocker covers, the inlet manifold and carburetors, get the water pump, alternator, starter motor, all the other ancillaries, that kind of stuff, get the engine dressed, ready to fit. So if you want to join me for that, please hit like and subscribe, and there's a bell notification button down in that corner, I think. Hit that, you'll see when the next bit comes out, and join me again very soon for more Rover V8 goodness and hopefully some Mercedes W123 workingness in a video very soon as well. Thanks for joining, see you again soon.